right, Nick, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. Coming the next thing in the road for the Seahawks would be to look forward towards the draft and, what they're going to do with this pick. And there's a lot of options here, Nick. And I think we have a very interesting option that a very, very highly touted draft expert has pitched to the Seahawks. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. But Seahawks fans, we're in the playoffs, made a very, very good run this year. Unfortunately, you're no longer there. There are 4 teams left, though, and that's why we want to know, who do you want to win the Super Bowl? Is it the Bengals? Is it the Chiefs, the Eagles, or the Niners? Let us know in the comments below who you are thinking is going to win. But, Nick, what do you have for the Seahawks in the draft?
Yeah, so obviously it's becoming that time of the year again. And the most respected, the longest tenure, the guy who is the most connected, he's not always right, but he's the most experienced. He usually gets it pretty darn close, is, of course, Mel Kiper over at ESPN. Whether you like him or hate him, he's one of the more influential guys in this business. A lot of connections with executives, a lot of connection with scouts and GMs. And he has, in his very first mock draft for the 2023 offseason, has the Seattle Seahawks at number 5, selecting Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. Now, this is what's very interesting about this pick, Minds, because Will Levis is a guy who has all the physical tools. He's big, strong, fast, can make every throw, but he had problems with accuracy. He had problems with turnovers, wasn't the best at times for Kentucky, has all the tools, but will it translate? Will he be able to turn that around with a successful NFL career? And I know a lot of Seahawks fans are thinking, we got Geno Smith, assuming they're able to get him to return him free agency, which I think they're going to try to. All reports are that they're going to try and bring him back. Why would we go after Will Levis? Well, Mel Kiper here brings up an interesting point, because the comp, everyone is wondering what could be of Will Levis. Is he another Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills, right? Because Allen, of course, coming out of Wyoming, he couldn't complete a pass. You watch film of Allen in college, he was wildly inaccurate. It didn't seem to be very productive at all, completed like 55% of his throws, had a lot of turnovers, frankly, not playing the best football in the world in Wyoming. I think they were a MAC or WAC team back in the day. I forget exactly what they were, Mountain West maybe, but certainly not like SEC or Big Ten football. Mel Kiper was the one guy who banged his fist for Josh Allen and says, whoever picks this guy is going to be really lucky that they did. He was a huge proponent of Josh Allen, and lo and behold, Josh Allen became Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills. And the fact that he's going out on a limb here for Levis makes me think and pause for a second that maybe Seattle should seriously consider taking the Kentucky quarterback here at number 5. Because if he's the next Josh Allen and the Seahawks get him, the Seahawks immediately become another dynasty for the next decade or so in the NFC. Give me your thoughts on Kiper's decision here to kind of mock what Levis to Seahawks, and if you think Seattle should move in that direction, Mize.
Yeah, Nick, I think it's really, really interesting because you look at the measurables, as you said, 6'3", 230. He's a big dude, big like Josh Allen. He can move like Josh Allen. And you got to remember, this past season, reportedly, Levis was battling through turf toe pretty much for all of the 2022 season. It, it wasn't his best season, I would say. Last year was arguably his best season. Graded last year at the 2021 season, 90.6 grade per PFF. This last season, 68.6. So notable drop off, but playing through injury. I looked at the highlights of this year and some things that were very interesting to me, Nick. And Levis played arguably one of his better, cleaner games this season against Georgia, one of the best defenses in the country. He threw 20 of 31 for 206 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception, and he ran 5 carries for 26 yards, 5 yards a carry. So, he's very productive against a really big time defense. And this is a team that really seemed unstoppable. They were blowing teams out, and Kentucky hung in this game, and I think it was largely because Levis was able to keep drives alive. Now, the ending of that game, the score really wasn't great, 16-6. But, if you look at the play, I think Levis really played one of his better games that season against a really, really tough Georgia opponent, Nick. And that's why when I look at him, I think he is probably a little bit of a gamble, an unknown, but he's not even close to as an unknown as Josh Allen was coming out. This is a guy who is SEC tested. He's played against some of the best competition in the country. And quite frankly, he put up a really, really good season back in 2021. So I think it's worth taking a gamble on a guy like Levis. If you are having the opportunity to select him at the number 5 spot, I think you should really, really consider it.
Yeah, especially, I'm sure a lot of Seahawks fans were like, what the heck are these guys talking about? We're going to bring back Geno Smith. We just went to the playoffs. We won 9 games. Geno Smith is probably going to win comeback player of the year. He had a monster season. No denying that. Geno Smith had a great season. He has a lot of potentially going forward, but he is in his 30s, right? He's not going to be around forever. And let's be honest, if you look at the track record of the top football teams in the NFL right now, they all had decent quarterbacks, but they made moves for better ones, right? You look at the Kansas City Chiefs are the best example. They had Alex Smith, veteran quarterback, doing a solid job. They were going to playoff games, kind of like the Seattle Seahawks, but they still waited for their guy and Pat Mahomes. They went and got Mahomes. Now they're the best team in the NFL year in and year out. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They had Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate. People look at Carson Wentz bad now, but there was a time when he was an MVP candidate, had a couple really nice years. What do? They draft Jalen Hurts early in the second round one year. They move off Wentz, switch to Hurts. They're a whole lot better. Look like they could potentially go to a Super Bowl. That's what the good teams do. Until you are great and young at quarterback, you keep trying to find great and young quarterbacks because quarterback play matters, of course, but if he's on that rookie deal, it's insanely valuable. And that's exactly why I think Mel Kiper's onto something here. Nothing against Geno Smith. He had a great year. He proved people like me wrong. I thought he was going to be a dud. He wasn't. He was a superstar. But the reality is, Will Levis's potential is a lot higher. And if he does reach that potential, he would be a lot cheaper. And that would be insanely valuable for a Seahawks team that's young, looking to add more pieces, potentially for a long-term playoff run. I think Mel Kiper's really onto something here. And if Seahawks fans, I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I think if you guys take a step back, you realize there could be a little method to this madness.